What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Welcome back to the Respawn, where I answer your questions. Today we're talking about characters with a drone ability, holographic decoys, and bonus stats for hero combos. Let's get started. First question, are there invincibility frames in Overwatch, and should they be there? So in case you don't know, invincibility frames are very brief segments where your player is unable to take any kind of damage. This could be when you initiate some sort of an attack or immediately after you take damage. So you probably noticed this in some of the older games where, you get hit by something and then you start to flash, your character blinks a little bit so that way you can't take damage again. In Overwatch, there really aren't any invincibility frames, but there are some sections where you just are invincible. Obvious stuff would be like when Mei is in an ice block. For example, when Mercy uses her Resurrect on you, you get a very short amount of invincibility while you're being resurrected. The point of this is just so that you can't basically get destroyed before you even have control of your character. Another time is when Reaper uses Shadow Step. When you're appearing, you do have a brief moment of invincibility until you gain control of your character. So with that stuff, yeah, that's fine. But if you're asking if there should be invincibility frames like after you take damage, then no, I don't think that they should ever add anything like that. But let's say they do 10 damage and you do 15 damage, you don't want yours to get kind of erased because of those invincibility frames. And as far as using invincibility frames when you're attacking, I mean, yeah, there's going to be some cases when that's necessary, but for the most part, that sort of stuff doesn't really belong in a game like Overwatch. Next question, Sombra counters Doomfist and EMP destroys barriers, so why isn't anyone using Sombra against double barrier? The reason primarily is just because she can't be all that effective when those barriers are up. And it's not like when you're going against a Reinhardt, right? Where Sombra could hack the Reinhardt and it forces him to drop his barrier. You can't do that against Orisa, and she has the primary barrier in that setup. Now, with the changes that are coming to Sigma, then when he gets hacked, he will recall that barrier, so that will make it a little bit better. Maybe you'll see some use for that, but for the most part, it's just that kind of bunker style where everybody is being protected by the Orisa and the Sigma barriers, and it's just not really possible for Sombra to build her ultimate fast enough in order for it to really be effective. And also, when you're talking about the Doomfist, if you could kind of stay in the back and just wait for him, you can do that. And that is actually a strategy that does get used at some of the higher ranks. But the problem is that a lot of times Sombra is just kind of sitting there and waiting. You're waiting for the Doomfist to come in and try to attack your backline. And in the meantime, you're not building your ult charge, so you're not building that EMP, and you're not doing damage either. So really what you're doing is you're just kind of sitting there in order to counter one character as he comes in. And for those reasons, that's why Sombra just isn't really used. Next up, would you consider making any skin concepts for any heroes? Short answer is no. Long answer is I just don't think it would really be worth it, because I like creating new characters and I like being able to design the abilities and all that sort of stuff. I do it just for fun. Like, I don't actually expect Blizzard to ever actually add any of that stuff into the game. I do it because it's fun. But when it comes to creating the character skins, I can't draw, so I really wouldn't have anything to show you guys. I mean, I could try making something really bad with paint or something like that, but it just would look terrible. I don't have the artistic skills in order to make that, and I'm not gonna really, bother someone else to try to draw some character skin. I mean, people do that every now and again on their own, but no, for me, no, I just don't see any reason to make skin concepts. I would rather make the full hero concept and go that route. Next up, why do you think Torbjorn doesn't get much play? So in double barrier, Torbjorn is pretty garbage, but the thing is, before double barrier, when we just had bunker, there was that small amount of time when GOATs had just been ended because of the 2-2-2 roll queue. But before Sigma had gotten added to the game, it was primarily Orisa and Roadhog or Orisa and D.Va. And during that small pocket of time, Torbjorn was actually a pretty decent pick. He never went super high on the pick rate, but he was kind of running somewhere around the middle of the road, which was the highest Torbjorn's ever had for a pick rate. But but as soon as that double barrier came out, his usefulness just dropped off the map. So unfortunately, it's probably not going to change until double barrier goes away. But I do think that when it does go away, there is a chance that Torbjorn's pick rate could go up at least a little bit. If it goes back to something being more similar to that Orisa Roadhog style bunker, then yeah, you might see him. Or possibly, you know, some other combinations. If it goes to dive, then no, he's not going to be used. But if it's something like that Orisa Hog, or maybe even certain variations of Ryan Zarya, maybe that could work. But for right now, yeah, he just doesn't work against double barrier. Next up, is Tracer with the new patch a good character? So Tracer has always been a very strong character, particularly in the upper brackets. During the dive metas, she was by far the best DPS in the game by a very, very large margin. And the problem with the character wasn't that she got worse, it was just that the meta changed and she was no longer effective during GOATS comp and now during double barrier as well. She's just not really that effective. With the changes to Winston, to Diva, and to her getting that change to the fall-off range, then maybe dive comes back. If that happens, then yes, Tracer will absolutely be played all the time. If dive comes back, you can expect to see a huge amount of Tracer. But the character has always been very, very good. But, you know, sometimes the meta just doesn't work for the character. Next question, would a character with a drone ability work? I see this as probably one of the most common suggestions for hero concepts, is adding in some kind of a drone that will either heal or provide some sort of buff or debuff or something or other. I don't particularly like that. I don't like having to create objects because I find that it just causes problems. So if it was just something that was healing a teammate, then okay, maybe, you know, that would be more along the lines of like an immortality drone, that sort of thing. But if it's something that actually attacks enemies, like a little floating turret somewhere, I wouldn't like that because those things are particularly difficult to balance because they have that, you know, that auto attack and the perfect aim. And for lower bracket, that tends to be a little bit more of a problem. For upper bracket, it's not so much. But when you look at characters like Torbjorn, when he has his turret, for the upper bracket, that's just barely a nuisance. For lower bracket, it's a lot more problematic. So balancing those types of things that you can have in the game that have that perfect aim, you know, that's just, it's difficult. I don't particularly like that sort of stuff. So for the drone character, again, if it was something like providing a buff or a debuff, then okay, I could see that. But if it's something that attacks, I wouldn't want that in the game, no. Next up, when will Blizzard start teasing Halloween skins? Here's the thing, I don't think they're going to. So what we've noticed with the last couple events is that they'll drop the event and then they start putting the teasers for the skins out after the event has started. And I think that they did this for a couple of reasons. So mainly, people were complaining that all of the different skins were being shown off, so we knew all of the new stuff before the event even started. And I think that's why they kind of pushed it off a little bit. They started kind of slowing it down a little, but now what they've done with the last couple events is that they don't release them until after. And I think what they're using it as is just kind of like a reminder, like, okay, the event has already started, here's this cool skin that you can get that you might not have seen or whatever like that. So they're kind of using the hero skins as kind of like reminders after the event has started, as opposed to teasers before the event. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tuesday or Thursday rolls around and we just get the brand new Halloween event without any teasers before it. I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. Next up, would a hero who creates holographic decoys to distract enemies work in the game? This has been very common as a question ever since Apex Legends came out because of one of those characters. I don't really know how well this would work. I mean, it would be kind of mediocre at best, I think. Like, it might work as like a minor distraction, but it certainly couldn't be like an ultimate or anything like that. Like, maybe you could have it, but I don't know. I feel like it has very limited value in Overwatch because usually there's so much stuff going on, right? And unlike some of these other games where you have to actually go and collect ammo and stuff, you don't have to worry about that stuff in Overwatch, right? So if it's a decoy, you can just attack it. Like, yeah, you're wasting your attacks on it, but it's not like you need to run off and go and find more ammo or anything like that. So I don't know. The decoy stuff, kind of not really sold on it. Next up, would team synergies work like having plus 5% healing? So if I'm understanding you, what you're suggesting is, like, for example, if you have Ana and Moira on the same team, then all of your healing is boosted by like plus 5% or something to that effect. I think that's how you're asking the question. I think that might be neat. It might be an interesting idea, maybe for like an arcade mode. I don't really know if that would work in competitive though, because I feel like, I don't know, it could go either way, because it might allow for some more interesting balancing methods, because the more kind of levers and buttons and dials that Blizzard has in order to balance these characters, the easier it is to actually balance stuff, because you don't have to worry about just this one giant knob that you turn, right? And like, okay, you can turn this one thing to try to increase or decrease the strength of a character. When you have all these different things that you can do in order to change the strength of a character, it allows for a lot more options, a lot more flexibility. So, I mean, this could work. It might be interesting, though I don't know. It might end up creating some things where it's like, these two characters have to be picked because the bonus that they give is so good that you like absolutely need to have it. Or they could make it so that the bonuses are just, you know, a little bit less. But then again, like, what happens when you switch mid-game, right? Like, does the bonus suddenly disappear? And I don't know. It seems like there could be some strategies that might be a little kind of iffy on this. I don't know. Maybe for an arcade mode, as I said, might be pretty cool, or a workshop mode, that would be pretty cool. Competitive, maybe not so much. And next up, do you plan on creating a Bruiser tank hero concept in the future? I was actually just thinking about this the other day because I was working on some of my new hero concepts. I got some really cool ideas that I came up with, and I have so many ideas and I just can't put them all together fast enough. And I was thinking, do I actually want to create Bruiser characters? Because the thing is, I don't think Bruisers in Overwatch are good. I don't think it's good to have them in the game because essentially they're just really, really high health DPS, and I don't like that. I think you should have tanks that actually tank and DPS that DPS. So the way I design my hero concepts, I either want it to be a full-on tank or an off tank. And for that reason, I don't think I'm really all that inclined to make a Bruiser character. Now, I do have some DPS ideas that might actually kind of lean a little bit towards being a Bruiser character, but not to the full extent, right? Like having 500-600 health, that sort of deal. But as far as like making a full-on tank Bruiser, I don't think I would want to do that. And that's going to be all the questions for this week. Thank you to everyone who submitted one. And remember, I post the question card every Saturday on the community tab of my YouTube channel, and all previous questions can be found in my Discord server, so you can go and check that out. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.